Welcome to the MarTech Matrix, the podcast that cogently uncovers the business problems each tech company was built to solve. Today, Sean speaks with James Simpson, the Vice President of Global Channel Sales at Rokt, an e-commerce technology solution that enables companies like Live Nation, Staples, and Lands End to unleash relevancy in every transaction. They will be discussing how e-commerce brands can generate incremental revenue with each transaction and how advertisers can reach their target audience in those transaction moments efficiently. After the show, head on over to themartechmatrix.com for show notes, contact information, and details on upcoming episodes. Now, get ready to enter the Matrix.
James, welcome into the Matrix. How are you today?
I'm great, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Great. We're excited to have you here. To set the table for this conversation, is it fair to say that Rokt is a two-sided marketplace, much like, say, Google AdWords, but on a transaction page?
Yeah, totally. So we actually think of ourselves as a three-sided network. So very like Google Ads, right? We have like where we're showing and where we're displaying the ads. So those are our e-commerce partners. On the other side, we have the advertisers, right? And as we'll talk about our products, it's about driving relevancy. The third side to that network is we think about the consumer, the actual customer who's on their side and making their experience a little better. So yeah, I think that's definitely a fair statement. In terms of like AdWords, like I think the way we think about ourselves and certainly like what our CMO has been working on since he recently joined is what we kind of want to be is what AdWords is to search, right? And what Facebook ads is to social. We think about we're trying to be that for e-commerce, right? So giving you the ability to advertise on e-commerce sites and drive highly relevant messages to reach an e-commerce brand's consumers.
Okay, excellent. So let me ask you this. So when the founders set out to build Rokt, was there a specific problem they were trying to address, or was it just like another way to market for brands?
No. We're actually very problem oriented. It's an interesting story. So our founder, Bruce Buchanan, he's Australian. He actually built an airline. He actually built WestJet before he moved to the States. Sorry, he built Jetstar before he moved to the States. It's a budget airline equivalent to sort of Southwest here in the States. And the problem that he found while he was doing that is in the airline business, the vast majority of their margins are driven from ancillary revenues, right? So selling things beyond just airline tickets. As a matter of fact, in that business, if you're just selling airline tickets, you're probably losing money, right? Loads of their profit margin comes from upselling seats, upgrades, rental cars, hotels, all of this stuff. Some of it might not even be their products or their inventory. It's the inventory of their partners, but they make a lot of money from selling that. So Bruce sort of came across this problem, and the first thing he started thinking about is like, all right, well, where do all these sales happen? The majority of yourself and the majority of your listeners will be familiar with an airline checkout, right? It's a long process. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, I booked the trip last night. I was getting bombarded with all the, did you get your rental car? Yeah, totally.
Exactly, yeah. So the big thing that he found was the more you offer, the more options and the more choice, conversion falls off a cliff. Right, that's why it's broken out into very simple sections, right? Do you want to upgrade? Do you want to add baggage? Do you want to do this? But again, as we know, like in e-commerce, the more screens you add, again, conversion impact. So what you start thinking about is why is nobody solving this problem, right? Why can nobody tell me exactly what I should show to every consumer? Like I've got the data, I know about all my consumers, but nobody's providing me the advertising information to say this is exactly what you should show this person, and that problem, which he deemed relevancy, in this what we call that section is the transaction moment when the consumer's actually purchasing. That was the problem that Rokt was built to solve. Right? How do you? It's sacred real estate,
right?
The transaction moment. You don't want people dropping off there. So how can you provide relevant ads to the right consumer at the right time?
So the ad experience itself wasn't necessarily the solution. It was how do you make the ad experience better for both buyer and seller of the ad, right? For the brand's advertising, right? So it was about a better experience.
Exactly, and that's where the three-part network comes in. Right? Ultimately, it's about the consumer. They have to have the best experience. But what we found is the advertisers are obviously, they know what they want to show, right? They know exactly who they want to show it to. And then the e-com partners, they have all the data about who's shopping right now. Problem is, these guys don't share any information with each other. So I
So
know what I want to show. You know who's there. But unless we talk, we can't get to what this person wants to see.
so how does Rocked determine? How do they do that, right? How do you determine what ads you're going to show to me versus my wife or versus my business partner or somebody else in that moment?
Yeah, so as always, the devil is in the details, right?
Right.
And it's a very easy thing to say, but where it really lies in is the data and who has the data. So as I mentioned, right, the e-commerce brand has all of your order history, has all of the data about what you've purchased, probably what you've looked at, a lot of your demographic information, your address if they're shipping, lots of rich data about who you are and what you've purchased. The advertisers have a ton of data. If we take a very advanced example like a financial services company, they know exactly the type of people who are an affinity for their credit card product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, e-com brands don't want advertisers seeing their data, and advertisers don't want e-com brands seeing their data. So you need this intermediary, right? We ingest data from both parties a lot, but we don't share it anywhere. Rock's a complete clean room for data. We don't share from either side. What our system does is analyzes not just on the one e-commerce site, on every e-commerce site that use our system, which is is about three. I think we're getting some serious scale, about 3 billion transactions annually. Have we seen this person before? What's all of the order history data we have about them? When we've shown ads, what have they engaged with? What have they not engaged with? What have other people who look like them in their demographic engaged with? And we use all of this to determine what we call a quality score. It's the likelihood that this ad will resonate with this person, that they will click on it. And that's what our system is essentially doing, is powering all of that. There's another element on the advertiser side around, we have some AI tools to actually do like, how much do you want to pay for this ad? And what we call smart bidding, but the real power is in the matching of the relevancy engine.
I want to say fascinating. It is fascinating, but it reminds me, I mean, you just basically described my Criteo sales pitch when I was selling ads at Criteo. Before Criteo got into the retail media space, when they were just a retargeting technology, right? And it took some time to get to that certain point to be able to explain to a buyer how the back end worked. But essentially, you have the user on your website, right? And all the behavior that they exhibit. And then you have the publisher ecosystem where they also go after, before and after they get to your website. And we have access to how users perform from a media perspective on those websites. In terms of, do they click on this ad, that ad? Are they clickers? Are they not clickers? Right. And then behind the scenes, we're sort of marrying up all that data. We're combining it with their bid price to get that quality score to determine how much we can bid for that inventory. And then if we can afford to buy it based on all the factors that we created behind the scenes, we buy that impression for the brand. And if they click, Criteo got paid. So you're essentially doing that. Sorry for the Criteo sales pitch, but you're essentially doing that for e-commerce transaction pages, which is fascinating. And the only reason I wanted to explain that is because Criteo did really well. Criteo beat every competitor on a head-to-head test, and nobody could understand why until I explained to them the vast amounts of data that they were crunching on the back end to determine what to show that user, and that's why it worked. And it sounds like you're doing the same thing. Okay, that makes this really interesting for me personally. Take me through an example. Give me a client that you work with, like that everyone's going to know, and the problem they came to you with, or the problem that you identify they had, and how you help them solve it, and share some results as much as you can.
Yeah, totally. I can tell that. I'll quickly touch on the Criteo piece you mentioned, because we know the guys over there really, really well. We love Criteo. Like, we're doing the same like the same type of problem. Again, where we come into it and where we differentiate is we're focused purely on this, what we're deeming the transaction moment. Right? We think about the on-site stuff in retail media, which is a massively growing industry that Criteo is helping power. All about the on-site stuff, where we differentiate is, like I said, this transaction moment. So in terms of like flagship user, who's really, really done this well, Ticketmaster, you can see a demo of the Ticketmaster experience on our site. They're one of our oldest and longest customers. And the problem statement they came to us with was very similar to the airline one that I explained to you, right? If you're just selling tickets, then that's a really slim margin business, right? There's a lot of data that goes into exactly how much is the ticket worth and how much they pay for it. And where they make a lot of their money is by determining upsells, improved tickets, insurance, parking when you get to the venue, X, Y, Z. So they have an awful lot of stuff. The problem that they have is, what order do you show it in? Exactly where on your site should you show this? Should you show insurance? Is this person? I personally never insure tickets, right? So showing me insurance is a complete waste of real estate, right?
Yep.
Upgraded stuff, parking, yeah, that's going to land with me, but I'm probably not going to buy you insurance. So they came to us with, we want to give you all of this stuff. Some of it's our products, some of it's first party inventory, some of it's third party, right? We also have our partner vendors who sell their stuff on our real estates. Can you actually power how it renders, where it is on a site, and exactly what ad we're showing to which consumer? Here's all the information about them, right? Here's all the data about our consumers, and we're integrated very, very tightly with them. We use that to power a really relevant experience online. And like I said, there's an awful lot of different things that they're providing in that checkout experience. We're helping them get the right message to the right consumer.
Got it. So just a couple follow-ups there. So the exchanging of that data, I want to hit that. Is that, I assume it's all CCPA compliant. Is it all GDPR compliant as well? So if there's listeners from outside the country, I'm sure they'd want to know.
Both CCPA and GDPR compliant. I mean, the main notion, like apart from being regulatory compliant, is we don't use any cookies. There's no cookie tracking here whatsoever, right? It's first party data, usually based on a unique identifier, where we're taking that information from the e-commerce side, and again, we're taking things from the advertisers who they want to target, but that stays within Locked. It doesn't get shared anywhere. We don't share it with any third parties. We don't sell data. We don't enrich data. That's a really core part of our value proposition. It's why brands trust us to do this. Is because we're not passing it anywhere or trying to enrich it or resell it at all. We are essentially, and that's another great, we are the tool that drives that relevancy, right? It's still their site, it's their data, their consumers. We're just helping drive the relevancy. And that's true for the advertiser side as well.
So you gave us a couple of examples that I think everyone's familiar with, right? Like I bought an airline ticket last night. They asked me about the insurance before I checked out. I never buy it. I don't know why they keep offering it to me. Same thing with the rental car. I went to a different rental car website and they did the same thing. So the ticketing thing, I think, resonates with everybody. What about e-commerce? Like I'm buying a product, a physical product, consumer product, and I checked out and I bought it. What's the difference in that experience versus, say, ticketing? Maybe you can use a different case study too. That might be helpful.
Yeah. We've got a really cool one on our site for Blendjet, which is a brand I love. I absolutely love their stuff. That we actually help them as well, like monetize certain parts of their website. And I think like in a very typical, like the Ticketmaster, the airline, they're complex consumer journeys, right? Lots of different offers, lots of pages. If you take it down into pure e-commerce, right? You're selling T-shirts, you're selling blenders, right in the Blendjet example. We help them basically identify monetization opportunities. Right, I'll give you a very clear example. One of our flagship products is the confirmation page. One of the most underutilized piece of real estate in the e-commerce transaction. Right, most people are using that to say thank you for buying something from me. Right, that's a live page. Right? Why not sell something there? Why not use that to surprise and delight your customers? Like, and it doesn't have to be. So people are probably thinking, well, James, they've just finished buying something from you. Right, it's not the place to show them another thing. But why not show them a 30-day free trial for Hulu? Why not show them a HelloFresh subscription discount? Right? Who's going to say no to that? What a great customer experience! I've just bought what I was on site to buy. Now I get, thank you for your purchase. Would you be interested in this subscription discount? The advertisers at these big brands will pay for that. They'll pay to show that impression. If it's a cost, similar to Criteo, it's cost per click, so they only pay if somebody engages with it. But it's a great opportunity to display a third-party, non-endemic ad, so using the ads lingo that you're familiar with, right? Showing somebody else's inventory on your site. It's just a surprise and delight. Like we allow again, very similar to retail media, all the controls. You don't need to show anything that you wouldn't be comfortable showing. Like BlendJet aren't showing any other blender brands or anything competitive, but it's a great opportunity for them to show these services that people want, that creates a great user experience and allows them to make some money from displaying advertisements for these well-known brands on their e-commerce site. That's a real simple example, but we can drive 10, 15, 20 cents a transaction increases just by helping them monetize certain parts of their real estate they hadn't thought about monetizing.
Wow. Yeah. I guess for a brand listening, it's a matter of thinking about how many transactions do you get each month, multiply that times 10, 15, 20 cents, and that's the revenue upside from something like this. So I want to talk a little bit more about the products that you actually show in those ads. Clearly with BlendJet, you're not going to show other blenders. The examples you gave were like subscriptions. What about other consumer products that might be relevant to the user based on the data you have? Do you do that as well? And then what say does BlendJet in this example have on which advertisers appear on their checkout page?
Yeah, totally. So we break it down by, again, the pages in that checkout offering. So we have an upsells tool, an upsells product. We actually recently just acquired a company called Aftersell, which is one of the most widely used upsell products in the Shopify ecosystem. And that helps to say, right, okay, I'm in the cart. I've just added a few products. Is there opportunities to upsell me to something else based on the data? And we have product that powers that. When you get past that, right, into sort of the payments page, what a great opportunity to serve FinServe offers, right? If you want to sign up for this credit card, or if you want to use PayPal, maybe you get a discount on the next order or some points for completing the transaction with this card. Again, the payments page is another one. People don't think like that's just for processing payments. Why would I show advertisements? But FinServe companies will pay for this. And then in the confirmation page, that's a great offer. In that section, though, I think where you break it down again is like first party endemic. That's where you're selling more of your products, and third party non-endemic, where you're showing other people's products. For the non-endemic stuff, what works really well there are offers. So you're not necessarily showing, all right, you bought a blender from us, you're going out tonight, here's a nice pair of shoes. That's not necessarily the approach, but if you can show relevancy. Like, again, a discount off your next purchase at Macy's or something that's HelloFresh, those offers, again, it's a great customer experience. It doesn't conflict really with your brand equity, right? You're just providing something additional for your consumer. They're going to think it's a surprise and delight moment. And we can provide all the controls, what to show and what not to show, and then the machine learning be the real power. That's optimizing exactly what to show to every person, thousands of times a minute, and learning all the while.
And do you also get, like, let's use BlendJet again. Do you get advertisers or brands like BlendJet acting as advertisers in that scenario on other customer sites?
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like, one of the really great things about our product is like a lot of retailers or a lot of brands will come in the door because of the e-commerce proposition. And what I thought about, how to make additional money per transaction.
Millions, yeah.
Yeah, but then when they see how good it is and how much it doesn't degrade the customer experience and how it provides a surprise and delight, the question then often becomes like, could I acquire customers by advertising across other e-commerce checkouts? And the answer is yes. Why wouldn't you look at doing that, right? So we get a lot of people who are using both sides of the marketplace, and like I say, if they can provide a compelling offer for consumers, then we can use the network to know where to position that. And that's another really important piece as well, Sean. Like that, I mentioned we're an offer-led platform, right? It's $10 off your next purchase.
Sure.
One of the things that brands struggle with is where do I show that? If I put that on my homepage, now everybody visiting can see this $10 off. They might have been totally willing to pay full price, right? But if you're using a machine learning system to advertise and show, right, who are the types of demographics that you want to provide this offer to, our system can help you do that.
It's funny, not only are you like AdWords, but you're almost like an affiliate alternative, like, right? Because rather than give the offer to everybody, right, and training people to go look for offers, you're just giving it to the select people based on the machine learning and the audiences that you deem appropriate. But you're also retail media, right? Because if you're showing ads on multiple web pages throughout the shopping experience, you essentially are a retail media play. You're just putting ads on different pages and different placements than a Criteo might.
Yeah, so I mean, like the affiliate world, we work with, we often wind up finding our way to affiliate marketing teams a lot of places, and we work with like some affiliate agencies and stuff. What we're providing is like the days of, well, I shouldn't really say the days are over because I don't think they'll ever be over. But like, if you're just buying advertising real estate on a publication, right, and you're going to pay a cost per sale, right, you're really missing the power and the value of true performance marketing, which is, like I say, have a compelling offer and work with a partner to power when and where that's to be a compelling experience, like an e-commerce transaction. We like to think we take elements from all of that, but the true power, like I say, comes in the data. When you're buying, in the affiliate example, inventory on the Wall Street Journal, whatever, you don't know anything about who's going through that experience. You're just hoping what you're selling lands. A much smarter way to do that, like I say, is work with somebody who can ingest your audience targeting data and then map that to consumer data, and you like only pay for when you're actually your message also converts.
Got it. So you've given us some case studies around the e-commerce side of the house, right?
Yeah.
Brands that are showing the ads. What about the advertisers themselves? Do you have any good case studies on the website that our listeners can go to that shows that maybe return on ad spend, the value they got? They're not just getting clicks, right? This is always the knock at Criteo. It's like, oh, you're just getting clicks, but are they buying? Did you have anything like that?
Yeah, there are advertiser examples on our site. They're a little less easy to display, right, than the e-com ones
Yeah.
because we could show you the user journey, right? We can't share
Yeah.
all the campaign information with you from advertisers, but like I say, what works really, really well are those unique offer led, like customer acquisition, membership drives, app downloads, whatever that unique outcome that you're trying to push. If you're willing to offer a commercial incentive for a consumer to do that action, our system's really, really good at learning exactly when to position that incentive, how to position it. And like I said, the other smart thing, and this is where you're putting your money behind where the mouth is when you're talking about performance marketing, is we can use our system to back into whatever cost per acquisition or return on ad spend goals you have. Now we'll work with you to make sure that you understand that they're reasonable. But like I said, if you have a $45 cost per acquisition, we can plug that tool into our system and it will just adjust what consumers you're bidding on. You can share information around, right, we'll pay $45 for this consumer because they fit completely all of our data around, we know this person's very likely to convert. We can adjust the system to only bid on the real estate for those consumers. And we can only do that because we get so much data from the e-commerce brands. So the risk of flogging a dead horse like that, the real message.
Look, I mean, this is the world we live in, right? It's all about machine learning. I'm not saying this is AI, but the idea that, you need large data sets to be able to mine to figure out how you can do a better job at whatever it might be, in this case, advertising. Okay, so we talked a lot about the data and the data exchange and looking at all of the different data points coming into the system. What does it take for a brand to get started? I imagine the advertising piece is the easier piece, but let's talk about the e-commerce piece. If a brand wants to get set up where they can start displaying ads on their checkout pages or post checkout, what does it take for them to get started?
Yeah, so it's a pretty easy integration, right? We use a fairly simple web SDK. Like I say, we work with a company that's specifically built for Shopify. If you're a Shopify store, a larger enterprise product, we usually qualify starts at about 1 million transactions per year. Is really where our entry point, where we can help you. Like we can really drive some meaningful outcomes for your brand. Enabling it, like I say, a simple web SDK rendering. Like we can provide a full consultation for retailer around where the positioning is and what products we think your consumer demographic might benefit from. But that web SDK We'll fire all of the relevant custom attributes to share the consumer data with us, and we can start to map that to all of the advertiser sets that we bring a stable of about 250 advertisers, so you don't have to. You don't have to go and source those. Like, we're bringing those to the table. So yeah, barrier to entry is really, really low. If this is something, and like I say, as you know, with your Criteo experience, like, retail media is a rapidly growing industry. People are looking for ways that they can monetize their sites, or offer advertising to their consumers. And if you haven't thought about this, well, I think you really should. There's a really compelling upside, and will really protect, like I say, that consumer experience for your customers.
So maybe just one last question around scale, right? So it sounds like brands, and correct me if I'm wrong, they'll come in, e-commerce brands, you set them up on the post checkout page, confirmation page. Is that typically where a e-commerce brand will start, and then they grow into other pages? What does that scaling process look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, we would generally look at what the full e-commerce experience is, and we do a good job of this and mock up where we think there are opportunities. It's not just the confirmation page. The confirmation page, though, to your point, is a really easy, low-lift place to start, because you're likely not doing too much with that page today. Not many brands are, so it's a really great way. Like I said, it just includes that surprise and delight type approach. So yeah, starting with the confirmation page is a tried and true method, and then looking to advance further into the customer journey. It's also one that likely your e-com team aren't too sensitive about. If we start talking about the payments page or the cart, like I said, they're sacred real estate, so that you can absolutely trial this out on the confirmation page. And like, we approach a test and scale methodology. That's certainly one way to go.
So one question that people always seem to ask regarding anything that's going up on the site is site speed. And everyone will always say, no, it doesn't cause any site speed issues. How are you affecting the website and the pages?
Yeah, so it's a pretty simple, web SDK, JavaScript overlay. It's I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't tell, but it's not a lot of code, maybe 50, 70 lines.
Okay.
We're not seeing, again, like on a confirmation page where you're not loading much anyway, right? It's really not impacting site speed whatsoever. There are some options, right? If you want to do the rendering and you're saying like, hey, look, I don't want to use a web SDK, just pass me the relevant information, I'll render it. That's an option we're more than happy to discuss with brands. But I think, like I said, when people look into the very, very, very slow, the very, very, very small amount of code that we're injecting onto the site that's not slow, there's not usually, like I say, a lot of questions about it. One of the other key things is, like, contrary to what people might think who've seen this, right, who think ads is all about video or image, we're fairly rudimentary text-based ads, sometimes with a simple image, and they convert generally the best. We run tests on this a lot. Poster performance and video performance, but simple text, rudimentary, just saying, hey, thank you for your purchase. Are you interested in a 30-day free trial of Hulu? Yep. Still some of the highest performing, and like I say, that simple format is often the highest performing.
Yeah, like performance marketing, it's right ad, right time, right person. Format isn't as important, as long as it's more about the environment that they're in and making sure your ads are relevant to the user and the mindset that they're in at that moment. This seems like a great way for brands that are spending money to drive traffic to their website, that are getting lower conversions than they probably want, right? Anything, probably getting 2-3% conversions is the average, right? That means 97% of the people you paid to get there, or most of them you probably paid to get there, and you're not monetizing them at all. So if you can make some of that money back through post-transaction offerings, it seems like a really smart idea, considering you're not impacting your shopping experience. So I would encourage anyone listening, if you run an e-commerce site, consider how you can monetize that dead space on your page. And if you're a brand, think about reaching consumers at that precise moment. They're leaning in, their credit card's out, they're in shopping mode, right? It's how they're thinking. So we're going to leave it there. James, thank you for being in the Matrix today. And hopefully we'll have you back soon with one of those clients to talk about their experience working with Ruct.
Yes,
Until then, take care and have a good week.
Thanks so much for having me, Sean. Appreciate you.
Yep. Take care. Bye.
Take care.
This episode of the MarTech Matrix was brought to you by the Cogent Collective, a community of marketing and e-commerce leaders. Learn more at cogentcollective.com. For show notes and information on upcoming episodes, head on over to themartechmatrix.com. If you would like to learn more about the companies appearing on this podcast and see if they're a good fit for your company, send Sean a note at sean@cogentcollective.com. New episodes of the MarTech Matrix podcast will drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe with your favorite podcast network so you can stay on top of what's happening in the Matrix.